I'm at a loss for words here on Feature Please. And his trip at Warp 5. My name is Joseph.
I was having so much fun with Chrono Trigger until those goddamn Golem sisters, man. They put a stop to everything. I'm your co-host, Peter.
We actually had a YouTube comment today about your Chrono Trigger adventures, wondering if you knew like certain secrets and certain things.
No.
And our commenter did try to hide, anything that you would if you saw it to spoil you, which was smart. And my response was like, I'm pretty sure Peter wants to not know as much.
The whole
as
shtick of our show is Peter doesn't know anything about nerdy things in the fucking late 90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Like we got to stick with a theme, and that theme is you try to stay
ignorance.
Pure.
Stay golden, pony boy.
Man, I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit here. You and I had a rare phone discussion this week, because we talk every week over our podcasting apparatus here, so we don't generally need to call each other. But you called me because you were interested in potentially hot swapping into reviewing Picard rather than starting season 3, and we had some like opportunity to consider that.
I was listening to the season 2 rip on my drive from Cleveland back down to Columbus, which is why I called you, because texting and driving with my kids in the car gets me in real hot water with the wife, and my kids are old enough now they can rat me out on things.
Oh, oof. Oh, no. You're raising marks, Peter.
They're little girls. Yeah, but I mean, the coverage we did at the end of the season 2 rip, I think there was really something there to say for it. And we were in a unique position because to this point, or at least that point when over the weekend, we hadn't put out season 3 episode 1 yet. And that would have been the right place to start recording Picard season 3 and kind of cash in on a natural break and hitting something that is sending big ripples through the Star Trek community,
to say the least. And we parsed through the potential. How would we do it? Would we do it this way? Do it that way? What can we do to catch up? Is catching up right? Are we giving ourselves enough time? And after we sort of worked through it, I think we came to the conclusion that, yeah, we're going to review Picard.
Season 3.
Season 3.
I'm not doing anything with season 2.
No, nor should any sentient human. There's literally one sentence in the entirety of season 3 that references anything that happened in season 2. One sentence, and it's an 80-yard line that they obviously spliced in after the fact. And makes sense because they shot them concurrently, so there probably wasn't any awareness of Metalis' part of what even the fucking plot really was of season 2. So we were going to review season 3. It continues to be excellent. I'm not going to say anything else because, we're going to have this other opportunity to discuss it. How we're going to figure that out. Is it going to be Patreon content? Quite possibly, although you'll have Reanimator to look forward to here shortly. That might, in fact, be out before this episode. So if you want to join us at patreon.com/featureplease, please do. There'll probably some extra content there. We got Tank Girl, which is always going to be a Patreon exclusive, and then some of our short rants about pop culture stuff that we've caught up on, and then this review of Reanimator is a little bit of a change of pace. Are we going to do it as regular episodes? We don't know yet, but we're going to review it. But ultimately, we chose to not review Picard and instead continue to review Enterprise. And then you had to watch this episode. Immediately after that choice was made, like immediately that day, you're like, all right, time to sit down and watch episode 3.
I'm well aware. And had I any inclination whatsoever, the fresh hell that was awaiting me is in season 3, episode 3, Extinction. We would be balls deep in Picard season 3 right now because
we'd be watching good Star Trek.
I would go back and almost consider watching season 2 of Picard, which I just shit on. You had really twisted my arm behind my back in the season 2 rip to say that Precious Cargo was one of the worst episodes of Star Trek and the worst episode of Enterprise. And boy, were you fucking wrong. Season 3, Episode 3, Extinction, first aired September 24th, 2003, written by Andre Baramis, directed by the infamous, hated
Purveyor of garbage.
Paramount public enemy number one, LeVar Burton, who, if I didn't know any better, beat up Mrs. Berman and took several car keys to Bran Braga's car hood.
It's the only way to actually square how it is he keeps getting dealt turd after turd.
What was his last one? Regeneration?
We just looked this up. We're real bad at our jobs here.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
The last episode of Enterprise he did was First Flight. So Action Grammar,
of course.
And then Cogenitor was before that. Fortunate Son wasn't bad.
Fortunate Son is a fart in the wind when you've got big hitters like First Flight and fucking Cogenitor stinking up the joint, man. I've never hit a low watching Star Trek Enterprise, or Voyager for that matter, where I just wanted to just turn the goddamn thing off. And normally, like, it's rare to hit episodes this bad. And we're talking like a Logim. We're talking just the worst of the worst, right? I the way I'm watching it, I can't like 2x view or like 3x view, and I can't even really like skip forward all that effectively. So I'll just start fucking around on my phone. And usually that's enough to like preserve my sanity. But them making these whack ass velociraptor noises was so jarring that I couldn't even fucking look at Facebook and like Instagram.
It demanded your attention. You couldn't look away. Can I tell you something in the strictest of confidences here?
You're gonna
on the
say
internet?
that you didn't even bother watching this fucking episode, and you made me just sit through this solo, and you're running off of fumes and what you kind of remember and memory alpha entries.
I didn't think
shit. Don't even fucking say it.
I didn't even think it was that bad. I watched this. I'm like, was it good? No. Is it definitely like a leftover script from the first 2 seasons that someone found in a desk drawer and decided to produce? Yes. Are some of the choices here, shall we say, strange? Yes. Do I think it's the worst episode of Star Trek I've ever watched? No. Is it even in the bottom 5 of episodes of Enterprise we've watched so far? Also no. Like, honest to God, I know you hated it, and I am all the way here. I am ready for your hatred. And I'm not going to really put up much of a defense for it because it's not very good. But I don't think it's even close to the worst. This thing had a lane it wanted to get into. It had a fucking idea behind it, and it committed to the bit. And the actors committed to the bit. And it's fucking bizarre. It doesn't really work with what they're trying to do this season. But, man, you can compare this to some of the worst we've seen in the past. I got through this no problem. No problem whatsoever. There was an idea here, and they really tried hard with it.
Spoken like a man who truly believes that the season 3 intro is better than the season 1 intro.
I mean, that is also correct information.
This episode is so bad.
True, and I'm winning that vote by a lot right now.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Check it. Check it.
This episode was so bad, I was genuinely embarrassed for everybody involved. Which is hard to say for Enterprise. This episode was embarrassing and cringe on levels that I feel normally can only be obtained by the shitty Jurassic Park movies.
You're talking like the original sequels?
No, which I think Jurassic World 3 was kind of okay, but like the Jurassic World one where like they go to the private island and the dinosaurs are in the house being auctioned off.
Oh yeah, the second one of Jurassic. Yeah,
Was that Jurassic World 2? And I think
yeah.
Jurassic World 3 didn't. I didn't even bother with 3, but this was really bad. So we pick up with what's probably the only good part of this entire episode. Well, I'll say there's two good parts of the episode, right? I believe this is where
The opening is when some dude is being chased through the jungle, and then some guys with flamethrowers roll up on him and just torch him. And there's no explanation what the fuck is going on, and it is like, oh, what is this dark, awful thing we're watching where a man is being burnt to death by these dudes in EV suits and flamethrowers.
it's very clear what's happening. This guy's sick with the mutant sickness, and this is some space fascists cleaning house. I was trying to read my notes before, and I see what it is now. This episode is punishment inflicted on me for Severance being so good, as I've been enjoying the absolute shit out of that. So
Oh, the Apple TV show?
fucking amazing.
I have not watched a frame of that yet, and everyone
How about
says,
this? Let me pitch this to you.
yeah.
Let me talk about Severance for an hour. It's incredible. So this is the first part of the one of two good things that's going to happen in this episode, and it's people getting burnt to crisp.
I mean, it's a great tone setter for an episode where, some real dark shit's supposed to happen, but and then just turns into a bit of kind of a farce instead. I mean, the tonal attempt here is like Aliens, right? Like something you kill with fire, it kind of matches the moody, dark, we're in the Terminus systems, season 3 thing. Like this opening is in the right frame of mind. It's just
Sure.
it goes in a goofy direction.
And with Enterprise, you can get a very limited, it's a pretty big range actually of cold openers, with stuff ranging from we're going to hunt you down and kill you with fire. And the other end of the spectrum we frequently get is like the cold opener being Trip sitting there, sitting down with a book to read for the evening and forgetting what page he ended on. And then they like hit some sinister music as he finds his bookmark had fallen out. So of the two, certainly I want to go with people getting fucking torched, but that's where we're gonna say our first good part is. Then there's the god awful new intro, which I have mercifully been able to skip through.
And then we are now at an unskippable recurring element, and that is let's get Trip and T'Pol's shirts off and have them touch each other, because that's how we're doing sexual tension now. So, Trip's.
I'm going to tell you a
bringing-
little secret you might not know.
Okay.
Vulcan females hate buttons. They are
Yes.
allergic to them. They cause very severe allergic reactions, teeth fall out, massive hair loss. In some cases, it can be fatal. So most Vulcan women will buy shirts with as few buttons as possible. You can see an example of which here being T'Pol's shirt. And when I say shirt, I mean more like, I don't know, like a child's jacket, because it certainly doesn't cover any of her stomach, nor most of her chest.
As in the same way that we said that we were impressed by the level of push-ups that Roxanne Dawson did post having a baby on Voyager. I guess we'll shout out Julian Blaylock did all the sit-ups. I guess if her stomach is going to be on screen all the time, she's going to make sure that thing is taut.
And let me tell you what else. The new uniforms they put her in, I hate so much that I almost respect her more wearing this toddler jacket.
This clear child's nightgown.
I want to see a scene where she is sitting there and we get like a vocal narration of her looking at her wardrobe like, okay, my subordinate is coming on the ship for medical assistance. What's the most logical thing for me to wear? If she had like a secret picture of him like taped to the wall behind a book, and she was just staring at it and like blowing it kisses and stuff. Like, I could buy her wearing skimpy, provocative shit like this. But since they've magically hit the reset button on the legitimate groundwork that they did in season 1 and 2 to like make them affectionate at all towards each other, to ramrod this goddamn thing, I'd say this is like borderline sexual harassment.
It's like, especially because Trip is very uncomfortable. You know, like this is. It's like, I don't know about this. I don't like going to my boss's quarters to get all touched up here.
Yeah,
You
my
know, like
super sexy boss in her increasingly shrinking shirts. So he shows up with a crock pot full of peaches because he's a Florida man.
because he's Southern. And he wants to share. Like, thank you for your Vulcan chiropractic stuff. Have some peaches.
Have a crock pot full of raw peaches, and then we get a very sensual shot of T'Pol eating a peach or taking a bite out of a peach, which amazingly becomes relevant later on. Here I am just thinking it's, sexual overtones just for the Berman of it, but this is actually plot, believe it or not.
I mean, College Engineer takes his shirt off. Dude is sculpted, and he starts getting touched up. But hey, the captain calls from the shitty command center and says, "We've got work to do." He's been digesting the database from the Zindi ship that they picked up last week.
It was the Marauders database that had some info on the Zindi. I do want to.
They had raided the Zindi ship, and so they got the database from that.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's a database through osmosis. I will say, shout out to this episode for them actually touching base on the fact that Trip just got off a hard day of work. T'Pol turns out to be the T in T'Pol is actually a shortening of Tarantino Paul. She's off.
Feet stuff. That's right. He told him to take. I want to see your feet, Trip. Give me them feet.
Get them doggies out. And then Trip's like, whoa.
Smell them.
I've been crawling around all over on top of the.
This means they're extra spicy. I like it like that.
I've been crawling around on top of the warp core on the prowl looking for pirates to jump on with a pipe. These dogs are barking. And I know that you being a Vulcan, you already hate the way we stink. I take these things off, it might kill you. And that's when we find out that apparently, whereas Archer has a fetish for head injuries, T'Pol's kink is, catastrophic damage to her nose. Sadly, I also like the little joke she throws in that,
the chances of paralysis are minimal, I think.
And they're going over that at the same time I'm writing in my notes, like, it's ridiculous to think that the humans and Vulcan's nervous system is so fucking similar that she can go there with like jackhammer pressure and hit where would be helpful to a Vulcan, and that you better hope to God that's not like the place you press to I don't know, put him in a wheelchair forever. But
isn't there like a TNG episode that explains why the physiology of all the Alpha Quadrant species are the same?
Oh, I thought you were going to make a joke about Worf taking those barrels to the back.
That's well, no, I would make a joke about that episode because that one was good.
You're talking about the one where, hey, we all come from the same
progenitor species. Yeah.
Never to be mentioned again.
I really liked that as a sort of, Picard in his element. And they had a nice ending to that with the Romulan. Anyway, let's talk about this instead.
So he calls her off to the movie theater ticket kiosk area.
It says
she shows up in another one of these god-awful space disco outfits.
Yes, she does. Archer says, here, I've been going through this stuff. I found where the Zindi last visited in this ship before the fucking pirates got him. Let's go take a look. Tell Mayweather to set a course for here. And that's really all that goes. When they arrive, there is no humanoids on the planet whatsoever. They're scanning around, and eventually Reed finds an abandoned shuttlecraft on sensors, and they decide to investigate. By they, I mean Reed, Hoshi, Archer, and T'Pol. Those four. Which is a crew that makes sense. You've got a interpreter slash cultural scientist to try and like figure out the shit that they find, to be able to read things, speak things. You have your security officer, the captain, your first officer, who's also your science officer.
What they did was they looked at the crew and they said, okay, who do we want to embarrass badly in this episode? And they said, you know what? We've really enjoyed shitting and minimizing Linda Park. Special guest star Linda Park.
The recurring character.
Mm-hmm.
Insensato.
Neelix Status Insensato. Let's put her in this one. They get down. They start searching around. We've got a real nice redress of Planet Hell with some heavy foliage, which I don't think we've seen this much dense plant life since Rogue Planet.
I was going to say, it reminded me a lot of Rogue Planet in that it's dark and it's just lots of trees.
They get over. We get some pretty gruesome shots of dead dudes, which I felt it was kind of a miss that they find the corpses and that the set designers didn't do like better scorch marks on the area around them, since, you know, these guys got hit by 4 flamethrowers a piece or whatever.
And I feel like they did enough. Like, all of the foliage is, you know, burnt to a crisp. I mean, there's a clear enough that, you know, fire happened here. And I guess the shocking part is that they essentially immediately all then transform after discovering this information.
No chill.
No chill whatsoever. This, before Act 1 is over, everyone except T'Pol in this away team has become the strange velociraptor people. You do get what I think is a pretty good transformation scene for, I think it's Archer is the one that we see the most. And then Reed. And the only one we don't see, actually, I think is Hoshi. Hoshi just like shows up transformed.
T'Pol's down there and she's got this white, I want to say this is her Professor Disco outfit from Marauders, actually.
Yes, I think it is.
Which went from being the worst uniform she was in season 2 to being the best one I've seen her in season 3, as sad as that is. But she starts going through the transformation as well, but it does not seem like it sticks, because our reoccurring trope of the aliens are immune to everything, which is normally occupied by Dr. Phlox. In this case, it's T'Pol. So everybody else goes through a comically fast, and we're talking like Michael Jackson turning into a werewolf in Thriller fast.
Matter of 20, 30 seconds. Suddenly they are transformed and they act like strange raptor people, including their head tilt. I think the reference you made is extremely accurate. They click, they hiss, they sort of, you know, are stalking around each other and acting in a very animalistic way. They attack T'Pol. They she gets a bad case of falling down unconscious for no reason, which can happen in Star Trek.
Take her.
Yeah, like she's escaping and then all of a sudden she just falls and then she's like, oh, unconsciousness. Boop.
I don't want to downplay how bad the physical performance is here. And I'm not saying that these actors do a bad job. I'm saying that they are being held at gunpoint to do a bad job.
Okay. I was about to say, these guys are all in it to win it. Every single one of these actors read the script and are like, okay, I'm a weird bird person. Got it. And then they just all did it. Okay. There's no half efforts here. Okay.
This is your choices to pick from. One, as often as happens in Star Trek, someone went to go see a movie and said, you know what? I'm going to make a script that's just like this. Only the movie they went to go see is Jurassic Park. And they said, I'm going to tell a story about genetic engineering and dinosaurs. But you know what? Those raptor puppets and CGI is expensive as fuck, so let's just make Scott Bakula do it. This could have actually been like test footage that was shot as a goof when they made the cast go to the local community college and take like miming 101, and that was like, or maybe this was like their actor vocal cords like warm up uh, activity they had him do, is just pretend you're dinosaur people. And they're like, you know what this
Unique
is?
New York. Unique New York.
Or 3, if you were to tell me everybody on set just got really drunk, and while drunk, everybody thought this was a great idea, and they're like, yeah, just go with it. You're dinosaur
They had to
people.
get them drunk too to get them to think it's a good idea. Like, Linda,
I've said
take these
everybody did.
shots of Jameson and then go act like a bird person.
Jello shots for everybody, guys. Come on. When was this? September 24th? Maybe it was like a 9/11 remembrance party that got out of control. I don't know.
They are trying their best to deliver on the premise that has been handed to them. The problem, and this is why I rate it above all the garbage we've ever watched, because the thing that separates bad from garbage is a lack of effort to me. A garbage episode fails to even try. This one is trying. These actors are trying. They're merely provided terrible material with which to work. But everyone is physically trying to do the thing. They are 100% devoted. There's no self-awareness on anyone's part. They are in what they're doing. And yes, we have a bunch of grown actor professional adults who are tromping around the Planet Hell caves with foliage, acting like bird people with 5 pounds of makeup on their faces.
You know, Scott Bakula was in movies.
He was. I mean, he was a real actor.
And you think Scott Bakula's sitting there on set? Like, sure, they had him do hokey, silly shit in Quantum Leap, but then, you know, Longest Yard and some of this other stuff. Do you think he's sitting there looking at the script, looking at Reed and Hoshi acting like bird people while he looks at his own hands, and it's just like, you know, I thought after Vox Sola, I couldn't get any lower.
It's one thing if you're Dominic Keating and you're like, well, this is a great paycheck I get, so I'm gonna be a bird person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, but when you're Scott Bakula making that choice,
Eating bug goop.
yeah, eating bug goop after having a weird judo fight scene to claim
After
it.
dominance humping Dominic Keating.
So there is not much to talk about in terms of plot.
So they convert, and then they fucking do the other thing that, you know, jumping back over to your favorite Precious Cargo, where we have to do alien charades for a good 6 minutes while Disco T'Pol tries to con them into getting the universal translator that Hoshi conveniently still has on her. I'm sorry, Bird Hoshi conveniently still has on her belt. That's where I really started getting into my phone, and I'm like, I can't. And it's like fucking Police Academy, man.
So the plot on the surface is actually pretty limited because these bird people that the crew has turned into have apparently relatively limited cognition, or at least the process of converting makes them have limited cognition, so they're very primitive, although they become less primitive as the episode goes on, which is a bit of a detail I think I liked. Like the longer that they are being established as this new race, they start to act more like people. They're on the search for something, some place. And Paul is trying to keep this band together and figure out what the fuck is going on while going deeper with them. Meanwhile, on Enterprise, Trip is in charge. Trip is like, okay, what do we do? And brings in Phlox. I was like, Doctor, tell me what the fuck is going on. And they draw the conclusion that's obviously some sort of pathogen that has resulted in this circumstance. Trip can't just go down there, can infect everybody. So he says, well, I'm going down there, but I'm going to bring 2 XCOM guys, and we're going to wear suits to prevent ourselves from getting whatever this weird new space AIDS is.
It's also worth mentioning, since this is a fun stat to track, if we open up our tally list for number of other crew that T'Pol has shot, I think we get to add, is it Archer or is it Reed that she wings?
T'Pol wings Reed.
Does it read?
Yeah, doesn't. I don't think shoots Archer.
Well, that's a good one to shoot. I bet that felt good.
I mean, he always deserves it. And he gets shot again by the XCOM guys.
He's a great tactical officer, very spry, good
Oh, he's
dodge.
holding his gun like an asshole again in this episode. Did you see that when they're like inspecting the Zindi shuttle? And he's like, ha, 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 with his
He holds his
over
gun.
dramatic movement.
He holds his gun like Will Shatner reads lines.
Yes, he does. Like freaking Linda Park had better command of her Service 9 and the one shot she had it in her hand than your tactical officer. But Trip goes down with Corporal Chang and Private Palmer, and makes the classic error of not bringing a ranger on your XCOM mission. So you don't have someone who's good in close combat. You got like 2 support specialists and a sniper. And when they head down, they get ambushed by the bird people, but do ultimately tag Reed and are able to get very brief interaction with T'Pol, who's like, I'm going to continue to follow these 2 weirdos, take Reed back to the ship, try and figure out what the fuck is going on.
I think
And
we
then
also
leaves.
confirm here that the Marines have completely separate design spacesuits than Starfleet.
Yes. They have different spacesuits, they have different weapons. They are, for all intents and purposes, people from an entirely different organization.
I like it.
I do too. The XCOM guys, which is what I'm going to call the Makos from this point forward, because it just seems to really work. They are a good addition, like to the crew, and it certainly increases their capacity.
I think
like, I've got a squad of heavies I can just bring with me.
I think XCOM isn't fitting though, because I haven't seen these guys be directly next to someone and miss.
That's true, but that's a 99% hit chance.
Yeah. if anything has ever, you've got a 1% chance of dying here. Anybody who plays XCOM, like, fuck, that's too risky.
It's a real chance. It's not that it's too risky. You still take that shot, but you're just like, I could miss. 1 in 100 is still
and then you
one.
flip the table when you do miss. Like,
Oh,
you didn't know what you were getting into. So while they're down fooling around on the surface, you got old Mayweather up there sitting in the big chair.
And he does have a couple shots where he's sitting in it.
2 new ships fly in, get him on the horn. Wouldn't you know, you're in the quarantine zone, buddy. You can't be down on that planet. There's a deadly virus. To which, I don't know if it's Reed or Mayweather at that. I'm sorry, Mayweather or Trip at that point, who's like, well, it wasn't very clearly marked, which
Trip said that.
one of my favorite Star Trek tropes. We're going to get real mad if you're at this planet, which we have done nothing to warn you not to go down to whatsoever.
I actually kind of liked Trip in this episode. We've complained before he's not very good at commanding the ship. This time he's actually making correct decisions and standing up for himself. So, this alien commander's like, you're in the quarantine zone. He's like, well, you didn't mark it. And they're like, you're prepared to be boarded. And he's like, fuck you. No, you're not boarding me. You try and board me, I'm going to fucking fight you. You want to come over and talk like an adult. You can come over and talk like an adult, because obviously this situation is very fucky. But you come ready for violence. I'm going to meet you with violence, bro. We ain't doing that.
I'm interested in the Trip's now crazy inventions fueled plot line, like where they're going to choose to apply that, because the nonsense of this episode feels very season 1, season 2, especially when we have already established in Planet Reefer Madness that you can't just fly down to the surface and open up the hatch and hope for the best, right? That there are planets out there with shit in the air that will kill you or drive you crazy, or both.
They did establish at the very beginning of the episode a reason to be there, which was there's a Zindi shuttle.
Yeah.
That could have information.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, them risking the unknowns to try and capture that information, I think
just saying, it seems like there should be something on the shuttle pod to scan for this kind of bullshit. But I've been saying, this would have been a good moment for Trip's crazy to bleed through, with him pissed this whole thing's happening and they're now wasting time and dealing with a zany season 1, season 2 plot instead of going after the bad guys to kill him, and maybe have him come off a little bit more unhinged and trigger happy. Like he draws a line in the sand and says, "I'll fuck you up if you get in our way." But I think they should have pressed him deeper into the darkness, the crazy time.
They definitely do that as the season goes on. And I think they really wait to use it until like the Zindi themselves are the antagonist of the episodes, because it's like that's who his resentment is towards. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a better use of it. Of like, this is just the fucking sideshow, so he's just being professional. But when the Zindi themselves are like within his grasp, he's gonna do a lot of Captain. Let me take his dick off. Like it's gonna get a little rough.
I like the space dudes who are there to play Johnny Law. This is
They've got a hell of an outfit on. This like
Alf.
gold.
It's red and gold. It looks awful. But the guy they got playing it, I mean, he's a no nonsense dude.
Yeah,
It's clear this planet is a big fucking deal to them, despite the fact there's no like warning buoys or like red
it killed.
lights.
Yeah, the disease that's there apparently killed millions of his people. So they're
10
very
million.
fucking serious about this.
This is like basically the Zindi attack. This killed as many people as the Zindi attack killed back on Earth. And he'll start filling in some of the plot here that the inhabitants of this planet at some point lost ability to reproduce, and so they turned to genetic engineering, and they did the only thing reasonable, and that was make a virus that just rapidly transmorphs anybody in humanoids it infects into the native race, complete with shared past memories.
The idea of this plot, I feel like, has been done before in different pieces in different episodes, particularly in TNG. You've got Inner Light, in terms of like the history of a people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you
The one where
had
Geordie LaForge turns into the ultraviolet light
right, and that was
invisible
Identity
creature.
Crisis, which of course, like, it's funny because LeVar Burton is literally directing this one, and he was the focus of that episode. Like this idea, there was the Voyager episode where they found the Vietnam Memorial, and like,
The world's most
Ch-
powerful psychic weapon, yes.
yeah, Chakotay and Neelix in Paris were like having flashbacks of a war they didn't fight in. So there's elements of this plot have been used before. This vehicle is a little different. I liked the idea of like the civilization tried to find a novel way to continue its existence, and it just wound up causing a lot of unintended problems to the point where this race is like lock this place down and will kill anyone that shows up and all of that.
Which, why not just nuke it from orbit?
Yeah, exterminatus. Like, just obviously, there's nothing on this planet that's worth saving.
If you've hit a point where, morally speaking, sending thugs with flamethrowers to burn people alive is on the table,
Yeah, put a satellite out then. Tell people not to go here.
just burn the whole fucking planet. You got
Yeah.
space lasers, just nuke it from orbit, man.
Nuke it, or at least like put a fence around it. Like, warning, this place has space aids. Like, not everyone necessarily going to speak your language. Have like a bunch of visual aids. Have like a big arrow pointing to the planet with like a circle with an X through it. And then like a guy getting sick. Like, everyone
And
will
then being
interpret these
burned
signs.
alive. Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, instead you're getting real pissed because someone showed up to a place you didn't even tell them that they weren't allowed to go. Anyway, they make it clear they're going to end up killing Hoshi and Archer, and Trip's not down for that. But they need a sample of T'Pol's DNA because she's resistant in order to make a vaccine. Of course, that's when he remembers she seductively ate a peach earlier and sprints to her quarters and gets the peach to get the DNA off of that.
Another
And
opportunity missed here would have been Trip getting to her quarters, going in. No locked door, by the way. Shout out Tuvok. And finding his his special stash of peaches in the trash. That would have been fucking great. Like, oh, that bitch threw my fucking peaches in the trash. Like,
all the way from Florida, I had him specially stasis.
Georgia.
Yeah, I had him in stasis. I gave him to her as a gift.
Instead, she's got him up on a shelf over her bed or something.
And the next thing that happens on the surface, because I think we're just going to skip over the weird bird people stuff, is
You're going to skip over the Magic City dream?
Oh, there's the Magic City dream first, which is like another PS2 cutscene level, like zoom out of a bunch of stock characters wandering around an environment, and it's like this tiered underground city. Didn't even really look good for its era, and it's like
it looked like some level out of Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, but worse.
Way worse.
Yeah, it looked like the Dwarven City from Dragon Age Origins, but worse. And
real quick, you know what? Also, if we're talking about like retreaded elements, Harry Cougar Planet. That was another one where there was an infection that started rewriting DNA and shared memory and all that stuff.
And eventually he wakes up from that, and then they continue. And then when they arrive, of course, the cities are ruined because the civilization has already been long since killed off or destroyed, or it just died. And when they arrive, they're so filled with emotion. They start blaming T'Pol a little bit, but that's when T'Pol hears the heavy footsteps of the jackboots that are incoming, and knows that's not her human compatriots. And they start running away from the flame troopers who pursue. And
fire bats.
And eventually the fire bats attempt to confront them in the Hell Caves, but are beaten back by roundhouse kicks to the face, which I thought was quite impressive, but also the power of rocks. Archer basically just wields a rock.
The fire bats made the mistake of attacking the Enterprise, the Star Trek cast members, on their home advantage, which is the planet Hell Caves, although very positively lit for a change. Archer's about to kill the one guy by smashing him in the face with the rock, and T'Pol's like, no, leave him. Let's go. It's okay, his suit's punctured.
The other
He's already dead.
We'll take care of that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So they torch him, and like T'Pol's got like one of the flamethrowers, and it's comically too large for Jolene Blalock to actually shoot. So it's like half her size. It's like, stay back. As they get cornered outside. They pull her away. They're going to dramatically torch
Archer and
Hoshi. And then suddenly that is when Trip and one of the XCOM guys beam in. They did mention the reason they didn't beam them out is they were infectious. So they did, for a change, like address why they weren't using the transporter. But they beamed the backup in, and they just like blam, 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 all four of the fire bats, because the Marines have longer range, so they just shoot the fire bats down before they get in range.
Sure, yeah.
That's how it works. And T'Pol's like, I thought you're never going to use the transporter again. He said, I really didn't want to.
When's the last time he used it? Reptile episode?
I think it was the Vanishing Point.
Was Vanishing Point after Reptile?
I think it was. But Vanishing Point, I think, was the last time anyone really used the transporter. Okay. It was, a good reason to be like, I don't know about this. Hoshi went into a hell dimension. I think we want to 86 use in this thing until we tighten it up a little bit. I think it might kill your soul. I think we might have problems here.
So they get him back up to the ship, and now military dude knows that Enterprise isn't being nice. Enterprise shoots off, and the other two ships pursue, get into warp, and start shooting green things at him, which I'm just going to say are some sort of torpedoes, so I don't have to complain about phasers.
That's good. That's smart.
In warp. And they're like, you better surrender. And then Trip's like, we just need a little bit more time. And the guy's like, cooperate or we'll have to blow up the whole ship. And then the door opens up and Archer comes walking in, and it's mostly Archer with just a little bit of shit on his face. Why are you shooting at my ship? There's infected people on there. Do I look infected to you?
Yeah, a little bit. You do look a little gnarly, dude. Still got some of the shit on your head. I liked how angry Phlox was at this guy. Of like, yes, these are the two people that you are going to murder with flamethrowers approximately 87 seconds ago. I, a doctor who am supremely talented and can cure anything, including diseases I choose not to curse so that millions will die, have cured them. Go fuck yourself.
The hubris that we're getting off Phlox here, for someone who just foolishly assumed that, the Borg were no threat, and just keep him in sickbay. And there he is, letting these two just roam the hall and be in the turbo lift with them all willy nilly. Like, clearly, Phlox did not learn his lesson.
I do like consistently that Phlox is very when he's asked questions to which he doesn't have an answer, he says probably in this very unique way. Like they asked us, like, it's T'Pol infected, and he goes, oh, probably. Like, I don't fucking know, but I'm gonna follow the most likely sequence of events. She's
I'm
exposed.
gonna err on the side of caution and do so as flippantly as possible.
Yeah, it'd be very casual, just like, yeah, probably. It's just his character. He's just very casual about things. I like that.
The viral infectious nature of this plot is so inconvenient to the writers that they have as little time as possible converting these crew members to monsters and then reverting them back into humans. And that is such a... I fucking hate when it happens. Like, we're
Yeah,
not talking
all the
about...
dramatic tension just pulled right out of that moment.
We're not talking like, uh-oh, these guys got some fucking marker on their face. Well, luckily it's washable marker, so you just use some warm water on a washcloth and wipe it off. That is the speed at which Hoshi and Archer are healing up. And for them to have converted over as quickly as they were, not just like broken blood vessels or like their nose falling off, but like big things growing on their neck. And the craziest part to me was just the hair growth. Within 6 seconds, everybody had hair that was at least shoulder length.
Yes.
And then Phlox hits him with the cure, and it's just regular Archer hair, which makes me think like maybe this race wasn't dying and making this genetic like monstrosity to rekindle their dying population. I think it's more feasible that this is just like a really bad batch of Rogaine that
Yes.
had some wicked
fucking
side effects. As I'm watching these guys turn into monsters, and all I can be like, man, look at that hair growth. I'd pay money.
Don't join the hair club for men. It's got side effects you never would have dreamed
Yeah,
of.
but I mean, like that, they had shoulder like my bald spot would be gone like that. If only I could find a way to like resculpt this virus and change it into something beneficial. And I'm thinking in my head like, ha, what silly thoughts for me that they would keep this fucking shit around. Well, then
you get the ending.
As if this episode, this fucking embarrassment garbage fire, wasn't bad enough on its end. They can't just let it go, because that seems like the place to stop was, okay, hey, you don't need to fight us anymore. You don't need to blow us up. We've got a cure. We're going to share the cure. So now you don't have to, like, burdenate people anymore. Also, by the way, let us share the technology of the words, do not go here. It's a bad time. We have this follow-up in sickbay where Archer comes down and Reed's there, and Reed's like, oh, my stomach, I'm, throwing up all the chef's food. Oh, there was also a really gross scene, by the way. We kind of skimmed over it, where Reed jumps up a tree and pulls
Oh, yeah. They have the fight over the
bug
maggots.
eggs, and there's these coconuts full of maggots.
Yeah.
And Hoshi gets one to eat, and then Archer
she's eating it. Yeah.
Archer bullies Reed out of his. They have a dominance fight. Reed basically rolls over and shows his ass. And like crawls up and licks Archer's balls, basically.
I mean, it very effectively demonstrated that they're very animalistic in that stage. It was very weird, but
And then Archer tries to feed bugs to Paul, and then so they make a little joke like, oh, well, you can have some of my moths because you're still a little bit of a monster, whatever. Reed limps off. And then Phlox goes, hey, by the way, here's the last sample of this extremely dangerous virus that could very easily wipe the entire crew out if this thing ever, hit the ground. Because even though I've got the antidote to fix it, it's very possible I just might be transformed and want to go back to the Forbidden Temple City with everybody else, because this is the most powerful bioweapon we've ever seen.
I don't want to go to the Shrine of the Silver Monkey, so can I please destroy this? To which Archer says, no, it's the last remnant of that civilization, and I will not destroy it. Which just doesn't seem like something that Archer would say in the circumstance. It's like
Archer goes, well, hold on a second. There's this virus. This is the last attempt of a dying species to save itself. And even though it's a terrible bioweapon, and we see that, that's all that remains of people that were just fighting to survive. And I know that in the past, I've had species begging me to save their lives and help fix a problem that was killing them off, that I've just cruelly turned a cold shoulder to. But this time, when confronted with a species extinction, well, wouldn't you know it, Phlox, but I've had a change of heart.
As we were wont to on this program.
So go ahead and just take that super dangerous fucking vial of poison and go put it in that bread box you got over there on the counter. And let's just hope for the best. And I'm not going to go into it because we've spent hours discussing Dear Doctor and the nonsense that happened there. But yeah, as if comically they want to call back up all the imagery. And I'm not blaming Phlox in this, but it's just fucking Archer. You're going to let the fucking women and children and the nice Mr. Rogers sweaters people die. And here's the fucking T virus made by the Umbrella Corporation. So please tell me that at some point down the road, we find out that the Xindi homeworld is in fact eradicated by Earth, and it's just Archer taking this fucking vial on his way out and saying, all right, we'll see. Just like that scene from Resident Evil, he just throws it over his shoulder as he closes the door. This thing cracks open, and that's what happens to the fucking Xindi homeworld. It becomes the fucking raptor people instead.
You'll just have to find out.
That is the only way that I can take this fucking travesty I just watched and have anything whatsoever useful ever come out of it. And I'll tell you what, if I was a Starfleet captain and I had this powerful ass bioweapon, I'd transport this thing on every ship that ever fucked with.
Oh no, guys, you're raptor people now.
I'd be sent.
Oh, I didn't kill you. I just turned you into annoying birds.
Yeah. Your species is problematic. I'm going to reassign your creature type. Actually, maybe you could breed it in with tribbles and really have some fucking some quantum torpedoes on your hand with that one.
What are we watching next week, Peter?
We're going into season 3, episode 4, Rajin. I thought for a second that might be God, what the hell is I thought that was Padme Amidala, but I was like, is this a Victoria's Secret picture I'm looking at? She's got a spider web bikini and some fucking Cyndi Lauper hair. What is this? Enterprise takes on board Rajan, a beautiful, enigmatic passenger with ulterior motives. Didn't we already just try to do this with Precious Cargo?
I mean, I guess not with a Playboy model. But
that is straight up Playboy model right there. Yeah, that hair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This one, we'll just say that there's going to be an episode of Firefly that this is going to remind you of.
Here's what I need. I need this Rajan Playboy bunny doing the Vulcan deep tissue massage with crop top to Paul to wash the memory of Extinction out of my mind.
I am proud to be able to tell you that for once, it will not just be Jolie Blaylock who is sexually exploited on the show.
Are they going to have Rajan crawling around in the ceiling and then she's going to jump out of a vent and her shirt's going to fall off too? They'll give her the Linda Park treatment.
Oh, God. Help us all. We could have been reviewing Picard, Peter. We could have. But instead we chose this.
Who
We
knew?
purposely
I mean,
chose
I'd say who could have known? You should have known. Certainly.
Well, thanks for listening, I guess. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.